Hello, this is Judy Bartkowiak from NLP and EFT Kids, recording a podcast today about learning struggles. It's quite relevant, in fact, because I've recently been on a 3-day online course with Sue Knight, which was wonderful. But in a way, it sort of took me back to school in that the sessions were 5 hours and it was quite intense. There was no sort of hiding place because we were on Zoom, and it was a small enough group that you couldn't turn your camera off or hide under the desk or anything like that. So it was really important to be able to concentrate, not get distracted. And I'm an absolute fidget pot. I don't know whether you've got a child like that, but I have to use a standing desk because I just find after a fairly embarrassingly short time that I just can't sit still. And so I was using my standing desk, but even so, I'm sort of moving from foot to foot and looking everywhere and obviously listening at the same time. But I can imagine that if I was doing that in a classroom, I'd probably get told off and given a detention. Anyway, what I'm saying is that we all can have learning struggles. Might be with a particular teacher, a particular subject, might be on a particular day, a particular time of day. Maybe you're hungry, maybe you've just eaten. We can all identify with these sort of learning struggles. So it's not limited to those who perhaps have a label that relates to learning struggles. I'm talking about just everyone, all of us, really. And obviously, because of the work I do, specifically talking about children. And of course, nowadays they may have masks, they may have other limitations, there may be restrictions, maybe the window has to be open and it's cold or whatever. So here are some of the things that I'm going to be that this is relating to specifically. So things like sitting still, which I've just mentioned, I find quite tricky. Concentrating, concentrating for a long time. Now, if you've heard of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, I've certainly spoken about these in previous podcasts. If you're visual, you're looking for things to be seen, things written up, pictures, diagrams, colour. So a teacher who uses those in their resources and materials will obviously engage better if your child is visual. If your child's auditory, a lower voice like mine is better than a higher pitched voice. And a slower voice, because on the whole, auditory children process a bit slower. And so, if, say, you've got a very bubbly, sort of fairly high voiced teacher being very enthusiastic, your auditory child might struggle to follow that. And sometimes I feel that children are inclined to blame themselves if they can't follow and think that they're stupid. That's their first thought. Oh, why can't I follow it? Why can't I understand? I'm confused. And they blame themselves. But actually, it's a sort of 50-50 in the sense that, the person who's doing the communicating may simply be have a different way of processing than they do. And kinesthetic, that's very needs to move. So kinesthetic learners really enjoy any subject, any that's going to involve them getting actively involved. So concentration will be affected by that, and just children knowing what they are and being able to recognise that in their teacher just helps enormously in them having some compassion for themselves and some patience and saying, right, well, it's such and such a person's class. I need to remember, I really need to focus. I need to maybe make some notes in this class. I need to be sure that I'm following it. Keeping quiet. When a teacher actively engages with the class and a child really wants to ask a question, answer a question, it's hard to sort of hold back. Just as for some children it's hard to even put their hand up, isn't it? Taking turns, It takes a lot of patience. And if you're very enthusiastic, that can be difficult. Making friends. Now, I know a lot of children struggle with that. I certainly see lots of children for that. And to some extent, that comes down to confidence. And we work a lot on confidence and resilience for making friends. Spelling, some struggle with spelling. Now, I can recommend you to Olive Hickmott there. Olive Hickmott, I think her website's called Empowering Learning. And she uses visual spelling techniques and visualization, which are wonderful. And I've actually got some of her books. You can obviously buy them from her, but I do actually have some. If you go to my website, you'll see some on there, or just get in touch with me. I've got them. And that also links to words moving on the page. So if they don't struggle with the academic side of school, they may still struggle with sport or the social aspects. I mean, I know that, for instance, a lot of boys in particular, because it's sort of expected that boys will love football, if they don't, they can feel that they've rather they're not one of the group, they're not one of the gang. And we all have things we enjoy and things we don't enjoy, things we're good at, things we struggle at. And that's normal. And it's helpful to accept this rather than fight it. Because, there'll be some things that you're really good at. You can't be good at everything. Nobody's good at everything. Sometimes for a child, it will feel like they are. They'll look at, across at somebody else in the class, answering the questions and thinking, oh, why aren't I smart like them? But they may be smart in another way. School only really focuses on a certain part of our education. It's not holistic. It's really very sort of subject topic sort of dominated, but there are loads of other aspects of our education and our development, our personal development, that are things that in the future, when children go to work, will be extremely important. It's not just about passing the exams, and that's not just what your future employer will want, nor indeed your future clients if you're planning to work for yourself and start a business. So the first thing I want to look at is how we process what we experience, because there are three things here that are important to know, and these are deletions, distortions, and generalizations. So the first one we're going to look at is generalizing. So when we think about our child and their struggles, do you use words like always? Oh, he always struggles in maths. He always struggles in the lesson after lunch. She always struggles when she's sitting next to such and such a person. Is there a never? Like, oh, they never listen. They never put their hand up. Is it an everyone? Everybody else understands, but I don't. Or is it a no one? Oh, no one likes me. Or can't. Oh, I can't do my homework. These words ignore the exceptions, the times when they can do a thing. I've certainly had children in my therapy room who actually define themselves by what they can't do. They'll say, I'm so and so, I'm autistic, ADD, or whatever, so I can't concentrate, or I can't whatever, can't focus. And they're sort of preparing me, but then they go on to show me absolutely remarkable concentration. And when I give them that feedback, they say, "Oh, it's because you're interesting, or because it's one-on-one, or whatever." But the thing is, if you've got it there, you have got that skill. And it's about then believing in yourself and taking that skill into the group place or the classroom place, because you do have it. And children tend to generalize and think that they don't have it in one place, so therefore they just don't have it at all. So they tend to generalize their struggles as if they're part of a homogenous group. All of them have the same issues. But in my experience, this isn't the case. We're all individuals, we're all unique, and we all process our world slightly differently depending on our own experiences, our life experiences, our memories, our family, all sorts of aspects like that. So when you hear a generalization, then the question to ask is, well, in fact, it's called a clean question, is just to repeat that back to them. When they say, oh, no one played with me today, no one. Or if I hated every minute of school today, every minute. So that's what I mean. You don't need to sort out their problem. You don't need to fix their problem. Just reflect back what they've just said so that they can then qualify what they've said. And it might be, well, I did play with so and so. I did play with Joe actually in the break. Oh, that's good to hear. What did you play? So, you don't, when they present something to you, if you hear a generalization, just reflect it back for them to examine that and think, oh, okay, am I catastrophizing a bit here? Am I dramatizing it? I'm definitely generalizing. What actually happened? And, maybe there were some good parts of the day. We also delete in a variety of ways, which means that they're not specific about whatever they're experiencing. They might only notice a part of the story. So when you hear something that's quite vague, like, oh, school's rubbish, oh, that teacher's useless, or oh, my friend does everything better than me. Um, just find out exactly. It's a bit like the generalization. Really, sort of try to drill down to exactly what happens. So, good questions there would be: when does this happen? Is it in every lesson with every teacher? How does it happen? What exactly happens? Who does what? What happens first? What happens just before? What happens after? Who says what to whom? What exactly did you say? So that's about really focusing on the detail. And the third thing is distortion. We distort by mind reading and fortune telling, as it were. Um, Someone told a friend of mine that her daughter would never get a job because she was dyslexic. This was a huge error of judgment because my friend's a sports physio and has a thriving business. She's also dyslexic and studied for her qualifications at a university where they could provide the learning materials in a way that meant she could learn effectively and was able to take her course in 4 years to allow her longer to study each module. Another friend was told that her niece would be unemployable because her ADHD made her impossible. She's very happy working in a care home where her attention to detail is really appreciated. She remembers exactly what each resident's children are called, when their birthdays are, when what medication they need to take, which television programs they like. That attention to detail can be a problem for some, but can be an absolute gift in the right circumstances or in certain circumstances. So the focus when children have struggles is what they struggle with, what they find difficult, but what if we looked at things another way and focus on what they find easy? This is what we do in NLP. It's a concept of beliefs of excellence. When we know what we can do well, with ease and with excellence, we can extract the underlying belief about how we do it and look to see where we can apply that belief elsewhere in our life. You can help your child do this. So, how to use modeling their own excellence with your child. Ask them what they find easy. Make a list. It's great to make a list. What do they find easy? And if they mention an activity, a sport, or a hobby, delve deeper. Thinking about that activity, sport, or hobby, what skills, strengths, or competencies enable you to do that well? What specifically is involved when you do that thing well? So, for example, if I was thinking about tennis, which, as you know, I'm pretty keen on, my list might include being able to move fast, anticipate where the ball would land, be strategic about where to place the ball, hit the ball hard, being able to judge how high so it goes over the net, keeping track of the score, paying attention, and so on. You might need to help them with making a list because what I find is that the things that we find easy to do, we rather sort of shrug our shoulders and say, well, that's easy. Anyone can do that. But actually, it's important to find that underlying belief. So when you have their list and the accompanying belief, ask them to think about how they could use that belief in another area of their life. And for this, it helps to think about which particular aspect of their life they'd like some help with. So I'm going to leave you with that and come back on my next podcast to talk about compelling outcomes, because that's a very important aspect as well. I have talked about it before, but I can always talk about it again. So if you're interested in finding out more about how to help your children with their learning struggles, what I was talking about was from a chapter from my book, my latest book, called Empower Your Kids, a coaching guide for parents. And there are sections, there are chapters on lots of different types of issues. I'll just see if I can find the contents. So in the part 2 of the book, you've got a chapter on anger, one on anxiety, coping with change, fear of failure, fears and phobias, friendship and family relationships, learning struggles, low self-esteem, and sleep issues. So it'd be wonderful if you could buy the book. I'd love it if you'd buy it. You get your signed copy from my website, which is judybartkowiak.com. And obviously you can buy it on Amazon and other places, but you don't get my lovely signature on that. So I look forward to connecting with you at my website. So that's Judy, Judy, Bartkowiak, BARTKOWIAK.com. There's a contact form. There's free resources for parents, lots of freebies, blog posts. There's all sorts of things on there, lots of information about what I offer and about my training, because I train other people to do what I do, because I think the more people who can help children, obviously the better. And also you'll find that on my Contact Us page, there's the offer of a free 30-minute consultation. So you can use that for yourself, or of course, if you think it would be helpful for your child or teen, you can book that for them, because sometimes just a little bit of a different angle on something can really help. Especially as I've had sort of way more than 25 years experience with children, and I had 4 myself. So I've always worked with children, either in market research, first of all, and then doing children's therapy. So I'll love you and leave you. Bye.